Good afternoon. For me, it's been a time of solitude, reflection, time alone, well spent. My better half, Colleen, is taking care of her parents in Taipei, keeping an eye out on her parents in Taipei. And hasn't been here for the last three weeks, close to a month. She'll be back next Thursday. Good news to me and the kiddies. It's just been the three of us holding down the fort. Originally, the titles and names are very important for me. I'm working on a book, but the first thing I had to come up with is a name. When I'm having these teachings, these sharings, I should say, I wouldn't be as presumptuous to say that anything to teach, just to teachings that I've reflected upon, experiences that I've expanded upon. And I share those in the hopes that it might ring true, it might be helpful to someone or anyone. But the titles for these talks, these sharings, come to me usually sleeping, my best, most creative time, ironically or not, is sleeping. And I go to bed with an open mind and a clean slate. And sometimes something pops up. And I wake up and I put it in my iPad, put it down. And that's the topic of my next talk. And I've been sitting on this since the earlier part of this month. I think the 4th was the last time that I shared with you, that I came online. And these weeks, I had written down the next one in order was called Enlightened Selfishness. And if the last 3 weeks have taught me anything, it's that we're all in this together. So I was going to talk about focusing on being selfish as a constructive, creative, and ultimately the only avenue available for you, not only for self-exploration, which comes inward, blasts outward. So enlightened selfishness included the others. And that the basic point was that there's very few things that you do have control over. And even the one small thing that I think of, you have control over your reaction. Allegedly, I've heard tell that you had control over your reaction to events, happenings. Responding to the chaos that seems to be so rampant, ironically within. Chaos dwells quite comfortably, I might add, within the realm of the universe, the song, the oneness, the essence, the being. Somehow chaos survives. Why? Well, when you look at your daily life, happenstance, chaotic happenstance seems to rule the day. And again, any attempt to control, to change the past, control the future, influence the present, is all exercises in futility, ultimate futility, destined, bound, wrapped in failure. So it's the response, the reaction. Is it accepting, lovingly accepting? Is it equanimity? However you choose, equanimity works well for me, but however you choose, one thing, the constant is change. All things will change. what makes you happy today could morph into extreme happiness in the next heartbeat, half a breath, nanosecond even. I'm always interested in the infinitely small and the infinitely large. Those are the two scales that I really like. Cosmic and neutrino, quarks, the smallest particles, the smallest measurement of time, and the largest measure of time, which seems to me would probably be infinity. I can't get much larger than everything forever and always, can you? But I put down in fact, I couldn't bring myself. Every time I started, something would interrupt me. I would put it aside. So I was hell bent on, systematic, if anything. And I had this teaching in mind. And I don't practice, but I go through these many, many times before I actually sit. And I've been known to skip around and have a topic and change it to something else. But in these times when it's so apparent that we're all in this together. And it was hard for me to sit down and pontificate about any kind of selfishness, be it, whatever kind of selfishness, enlightened selfishness. But the self being the key proponent. And just to look around, and I try to stay away from TV these days because it's just a little bit overwhelming. But in this time of the worst kind of selfishness, including a president of the United States whose only seeming interest in his own re-election and catering to his, not only to his base, but most importantly to his puppet masters, the ones that make him dance, the elites, the 1% of the 1%, who will somehow benefit. Even in a ruined economy, somehow they'll come out okay unscathed and probably make untold billions, if not trillions of dollars, because they do seem to prey on the weaknesses and vulnerabilities and bad karma, bad luck of the masses. So enlightened selfishness, whatever, it's still got the word self. And it made me think back. I haven't worn these for a while, and this has been on my mind. I have a series of white beads, one purple, one in the middle. I don't know if it shows up to be purple or not. And then purple with one white. And always the purpose of wearing this, the reminder, the lesson, it has really has a good vibratory. Wow, pretty powerful. But the personal reminder is that I always considered as myself the one amongst the many. And looking at that as ultimately it was a separation, because some kind of separation is totally necessary at some point. Sorry, I'm scrolling down. I hope you can't see. Yeah, I'm scrolling down to check. This was supposed to be lesson 7++, enlightened selfishness. I just want to reaffirm. But back to my... So I celebrated my separateness. But the beauty of it, the separateness, is that even though separate, we're unarguably connected. I have to put this on because it just feels so good. I'll let that sit for a while. But these few weeks, like I said, I couldn't bring myself to talk to... I sat down and had all the good intention. And I only got through a minute or two before something happened. Catastrophic failure. Something happened to divert. Hungry kitties was one thing. They were yelling and chewing my feet and trying everything to get my attention. They don't really like that I'm focused on this. They don't get it. I'm actually sitting facing a camera that's up against a wall, and with my background. And it's interesting, with more and more people Zooming and teleconferencing and working from home, I've paid attention to the backgrounds that people construct. Usually books. Oh, my books are all on my iPad now, electronic. I read electronic ebooks almost exclusively. I have a small library that I've thinned down through the ages, pared down, thinned down. So I just have the ones that I can't bear because the printed word has always been invaluable to me. But it's hard to move them. It takes space to store them compared to the literally thousands of books that I have in my simple iPad mini. So I'll pay attention to the background. Notice that one of my pictures back here is a little crooked. I'll have to work on that. It's my ACD. I see that in... anyway. The background of people's... And I'm pretty content with my environment here. But anyway, I couldn't, and I just... somehow the universe conspires. It seems to conspire. It either does one of two things. It easily opens up with no obstacles, no barriers whatsoever when I'm on the right track. And it tends to take care of itself when I'm off kilter, when I'm going probably not the best, didn't make the best choice that day, that second, about what I was thinking, where I was headed, because it will conspire almost against me. And sometimes it's very subtle, and I've gotten, over the years, if I've learned one thing, I've gotten to the point where I can pay more attention to what the universe is, the message that the universe is providing with me, for me. So I've done a lot of sitting. I have a favorite place to sit on my front porch, and I can look out the gate, my little, I call Zen garden in the corner. As you pass out the front gate, sit in my garage and gaze out. And I've always got headphones on and music. I've really been into music. I inadvertently, probably years of accumulating, I hit the wrong button and my music library just evaporated. And I remember running out and I bought some special software that was another pain in the butt. Didn't work, couldn't get it to work, couldn't figure it out. Well, the only thing that I could figure out is how to pay for it. When I finally got it to work, after hours and hours and hours and trials and tribulations, again, I wasn't paying attention to the universe because I was really motivated. I wanted my music back. Years of work gone. I use iCloud back it up in iCloud, but it might be there somewhere, but I can't find it. Anyway, it all works out for the best because of what it made me do is re-examine. I use music on Apple. I pay a few dollars, less than $10 a month, more like $5 a month, to pretty much access huge library, millions of songs, and without buying them, I can just download them on my phone, or I can store them in iCloud and access them as long as I keep paying the monthly rate. Anyway, just been totally inspired by music, and interestingly enough, as a music lover, I never was concerned with the lyrics. Never paid that much attention. Of course, the songsmiths like Bob Dylan and Leonard Cohen, whose lyrics were so either complicated, but essentially, when it all said and done, meaningful to me, captured something that piqued my interest. But other than that, seldom. And then some name that was kind of in the background, John Prine, who his music just came to me organically a few months, 3 or 4 months before he passed. And I began to appreciate his lyrics. And after I caught his lyrics, because he enunciates so clear, and I just heard his songs, and they're basically simple songs with intense lyrics, meaningful, odd, eclectic lyrics. And as a consequence, I've been paying attention to all the songs. And what I found that this was the universe trying to tell me to move on, because I was listening to the stuff that I grew up with. When I was a teenager 60 years ago, 50 years ago, and hadn't much changed. And there's a gap. I left Hawaii in 1997, so I have a gap from. And in the 90s, I wasn't really. The 90s music didn't interest me, didn't really float my boat much. And I was already on my Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, the band, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson. I like those country guys too. Anyway, I was forced to reevaluate, and I started taking a closer look at music and the services it offered. And I found out that it was really quick to find new artists and new genres. They learn what I like by just simply liking it. Anyway, I won't go into all that. But I'm rebuilding my library better than ever. I'm putting all the old stuff that I kind of stumbled. I haven't gone searching for, but I stumbled across. I have a file called Meanwhile. Thanks to Stephen Colbert. Meanwhile. I stole that from you, Stephen, directly. Unapologetically. Meanwhile. So I have my Meanwhile file. I put all the old, stuff that I like in there. And leave I call it essential, my essential file. I'm starting to put the new stuff that I've found. And by liking one, anyway, I'm going into that again. And the music, all I'm trying to say is that music is accumulating. And coupled with quiet reflection, downtime, I've been social distancing, okay? Which is not a stretch, it's more my natural propensity, tendency, social distance. And 5 feet's not quite enough. Out of sight is just about right. And when I have to mingle, I like to pretend that I'm invisible. Practice my Zen walk, the ability to move, to find the tempo of the crowd and move through the crowd, through the natural flow of things, the natural order, as to almost be invisible. Just Once you see the rhythm and you match it, you can walk through a crowd and, for better or worse, mostly for better, no one will notice you. So anyway, I'm putting enlightened selfishness away for a while. I'll get to it when it's not such a critical time, when I'm not so aware that of the other out there, of the suffering, of the seclusion, of the sacrifice that we're all. And within this crisis, of course, it would be remiss to see the glimmer of hope, the glimmer of goodness. And I've determined that at this stage of my life, the most I can do, the most helpful thing that I can do is to keep this enlightened selfishness, to keep my equanimity, to keep myself on an even keel, to breathe in and breathe out, to radiate ease, comfort, and most importantly, love. This is what we all have to give. And I just was looking at this, I mentioned John Prine, and read his lyrics, and the title is what I'm using for it, Boundless Love. That's the love I'm feeling. I'm full of the love and light I'm so full of at this very moment. My bracelet, my necklace, is just, it radiates boundless love. So it's a reminder of one amongst the many. I'm tending to see it as the connectedness. The beads are all connected, no matter the color. One, the connectedness. And what we can all practice at this crossroad, where many have noticed, and I too, that we're at a crossroad, that life as we know it will be forever altered. And it's already got a name. We live in a time when everything has a name. So it's called the new normal. Yeah, I celebrate the new normal because actually every second is a new normal. Anyway, John Prine's Boundless Love. I woke up this morning to a garbage truck. Looks like this old horseshoe's done run out of luck. If I came home, would you let me in? Fry me some pork chops and forgive my sin. Surround me with your boundless love. Confound me with your boundless love. I was drowning in the sea, lost as I could be, when you found me with your boundless love. Sometimes my old heart is like a washing machine. It bounces around until my soul comes clean. When I'm clean and hung out to dry, I'm gonna make you laugh until you cry. Surround me with your boundless love. Confound me with your boundless love. I was drowning in the sea, lost as I could be, when you found me with your boundless love. If by chance I should find myself at risk of falling from this jagged cliff, I look below, I look above. I'm surrounded by your boundless love. Again, that surround me with your boundless love, confound me with your boundless love. I was drowning in the sea, lost as I could be, when you found me with your boundless love. You dumbfound me with your boundless love. You surround me with your boundless love. Thank you, Mr. Prime. Rest in well-deserved peace wherever your soul finds itself. I know YouTube has a policy, no music, and go look this up. John Prine, Boundless Love. I don't do his song justice, but just the lyrics hit home. There's boundless love that's available to all of us. Just tap into it, breathe it in, let it circulate through every cell in your body, and breathe it out completely undiminished, even though it nurtures, it feeds your soul. Everything that comes in is available to come out. So you find comfort. You find your sweet spot, your comfort zone. You rest. You surrender. And you get up the next morning and you have an opportunity to do it again, to do it all over again, even though it's impossible that, like Groundhog Day, the Bill Murray film, that it's impossible our lives doesn't work. Life doesn't work that way. Once it's gone, it's gone. We're given these real tenuous memories, so tenuous, so subject to interpretation, and yet so intimate, so perfect. But they can have a double-edged sword, like almost everything. They can cut. They can keep you unhappy, disruptive, out of harmony. Or you can glean them, learn from them, move on, and give them a peaceful send-off. I told you before I use the violet consuming flame for karma, but also for memories. Like the old Clint Eastwood movie, the memories are the good, the bad, and the ugly. Get equal reverence. Get equal scrutiny. All of them are seen by me as a means of being a better human being, a means of learning, to increase your practice, to benefit us all. So in this time, more than any other time I've experienced in this life, it's time to practice boundless love. I just messaged on Facebook, got a message from Dennis Harris, a kindred soul out there in the world. We're only connected through Facebook. It's a Facebook friend. And you know what that is, right? But it's one that there's been a connection. He's listened to a few of my sharings, and I pay attention to his art is to get a beautiful picture and either put his words or some other sage or words of wisdom. And beautiful way to communicate. I enjoy that very much. But just drop me a line. Hope everything's okay, my brother. And I bounced back to him. Same to you, brother. I said that this social distancing is giving me a chance to practice my compassion. And when I told him that, practice my compassion, I hadn't really framed it until I saw John Prine's song the very next day, or the next hour, the next minute, or the very next thing that happened, quite possibly. Boundless love. And ultimately, that's what compassion is meant to be. But somehow compassion has a little bit of baggage for me. Compassion means that you're somehow in a position to be better than someone else in any way, not of intent. It's not a conscious thing, but compassion means it's some sorrow that's prompting it. Whereas, at least for me, in my understanding, my very limited understanding and practice of compassion, but practicing boundless love. A renewable resource. There can't be too much. It's just right. It's in the Goldilocks zone. Somewhere I was watching or listening or reading, and someone said something that was totally dumbfounding and meaningful. And for the life of me, I can't think of where it came from, to give credit to where credit's due. And they said he's an artist who doesn't know his art. He's an artist without an art. And I have to say that this resonated because I always felt that I was an artist, but I didn't see, couldn't dance, couldn't sing. Can write, but it's extremely more, I don't know what's more difficult than writing. But I always felt, until I found this venue from YouTube, till I've done these almost 300 half-hour video shows over the last 3 years, I hadn't found my art. So here I am, smiling, full of sending boundless love. An artist who's finally found and embraced his art.